Testing 1, 2. Hello, just making sure that y'all can hear me. I know I'm probably talking to the air. All right, sure. I just want to give the update on our dearest Breasia Terrell. Um, he was found guilty of murder. He was found guilty of kidnapping and all the above. She was 10 years old. And I'll give the background about what happened with this case. All right, let me pull up this picture. All right, so this is Henry Earl Dinkins, 51 years old, and he was found guilty of murder and kidnapping of 10-year-old Breasia Terrell. This was in the state of Iowa. I'm sorry, I'm just reading through this case. I read through it quite a bit, but let me just start from the beginning. Okay. So there was a 2 week bench trial. With this case, it was kind of different because there wasn't a jury with this case. So it was just a bench trial, which meant that everything was on the judge. Yeah. Okay. So one of the witnesses was her youngest brother, who was uh, Henry Dinkins' son, who said that he saw his sister sleep at his girlfriend's apartment, Henry Dinkins' apartment, um, the night before she had vanished. All right. And this was in 2020, the summer of 2020. Um, so she wasn't reported missing until July 10th of 2020. Now, she went over there, she and her brother, Detorius, or her brother, Dink, they went over there the night before. Okay. Now, Henry Dinkins was known to be a registered sex offender uh, back, I think, when he was 17 or so. But, I mean, he was born in 72, so he was kind of old or whatever at this point, as you can see in the photos from him being in court. Now, according to records, uh, that happened. Oh, that was in 1990 when he was 17. That was back in 1990. Now, the mother of Breasia, she wasn't born until 91 or 92, 1991 or 92. Okay. Um, I'm sorry, I'm trying to run through all of this. I'll follow this entire case. I also shared in the description um, what Henry Dinkins said when he spoke to the detectives. He didn't remember anything. He didn't know his phone number. Even also in the cam of the officer that showed up at the apartment complex, uh, where Breasia, it was her first time staying there at the girlfriend's apartment of Henry. So, but he didn't know nothing. He didn't know his phone number. He didn't know the address. He didn't know nothing. That was kind of puzzling. Um, so what's really sad is that Breasia wasn't okay. She was reported missing on July 10th. Okay. Her body was not found until March 22nd of 2021. Okay, so let's look at it again. July 10th of 2020, right? That's when she was missing. And her remains were not found until March 22nd of 2021. So when you listen to what Henry Dinkins said in the description box of what he said to the detectives, he was totally like trying to, you know, he wasn't trying to point them in the right direction of what he did to her. Um, Now, what her brother did, what what Notorious did, he's 11 years old now, and he actually took the stand. I was disgusted at how the defense questioned him because that was very disgusting. Um, but I commend her brother for really taking a stand and telling the defense attorney, "You're making me angry," like because of the way that he was speaking to him. So I totally understand that, and I believe that the jurors, the jury, they saw that and they were like, no, this ain't happening. So anyway, um, if you listen to what her brother said when he was 8 years old in the interview, of the location of where he was with his father. Now he's the biological son of Henry. Breasia was just the stepdaughter or whatever. He his son described the location of where her body was, but they couldn't really understand it because I mean he was 8 years old at the time, you know. So I can understand that. But when they finally found her body by three fishermen, um, her body was in the location. When you go back and look and listen to what her brother said, it was exactly where he said her body was. It's really sad. So anyway, fast forward. His sentencing was this previous week, and he was found guilty and he was sentenced to life. Unfortunately, in Iowa, they don't have the death penalty, but he was sentenced to life. So that's what happened with this case. I wanted to cover other cases that I've been following, but I'll do this one separate, especially the next one I'm about to do. I really had an issue with the girlfriend of Henry Dinkins. Hold on, let me see. Where's her picture? Andrea Coverson. I have questions with her, right? Because when I viewed the body cam from the officer that first arrived there, she did not say anything about seeing Breasia around 3:30 a.m. standing by the car of Henry. He left out with her around 2 o'clock, 2:30 that morning. And then he came back to her apartment. That's where he was living. And that's where Breasia and her brother were staying that night, was at her apartment. When the officer showed up, she looked at him and was like, and she had on one of his big white t-shirts, the same white t-shirt they found at the crime scene, same thing. He did not put the pajamas that her mother had dropped off the night before. Her mother dropped off pajamas for her and her brother, for Breasia and her brother. But he didn't dress them in that. Instead, he put them in one of his 4X t-shirts. And that's one of the size t-shirts that they found nearby Breasia's skeletal remains. So anyway, the girlfriend took the stand and said that she saw Breasia standing next to his car 3:30 that morning. But what's kind of strange to me is that she didn't say anything when the officer came to the house, right? That's when her mother found out, when he called his mom, called her mother and was like, I can't find her or whatever, she's missing. And when they showed up to her apartment, that's where Henry Dinkins was staying, was at her apartment. This woman, she looked at the officer and said, did he give permission? Like, did he give permission for you to look here? Like, I don't understand. But now she taking a stand. She said, oh, I saw her standing next to his car. 3:30 in the morning. And he tiptoed into her apartment because the unit that she was in was like on the second level or whatever. So he had to go upstairs. But she said that he quietly came up the stairs and went into she was in a 1-bedroom apartment, and it was 2 separate closets. He had his own closet. She had her own, apparently. And he took something out the closet and concealed it and walked back out. Why didn't she question then, where is Breasia? Because she knew that Breasia was not there. She knew at that point. But what's crazy is that the officer on his body cam, she said, or that she had just waken up, like, something ain't right. Something is not right. Anyway, I'm glad that he was found guilty of kidnapping and murder. I'm glad that he was sentenced to life. All that was left of this little girl was her skeletal remains. They were even able to show it on YouTube. I didn't show that, but all that's left of this little girl was just her skeleton. That's it. A couple of shells that she had in her hair. That's it. And a bundle of hair that I mean. So I kept this case separate from the other one I want to follow, or that I basically followed. Of this guy right here, Jonathan Quilles, who impregnated his niece when she was 15 years old. And when her mother, which is the sister of his wife, started to question who's the father. So he lured her from her high school and popped her in the chest, in her heart, and dumped her. Now, I followed this case. It's disgusting. The text messages that he sent her and everything is disgusting. His niece. He also essayed her sister. So he was like looking at the messages that he was sending to her from Snapchat. It's like he was trying to make her jealous of her sister, of him hitting her sister, and then he, the whole case was disgusting, of all the messages and everything that came forward in this case. It's disgusting. He's 33. He had a wife. His wife was also pregnant. She was also pregnant. She was fully pregnant. And she was the aunt, the biological aunt of this little girl that he was assaulting. But see, she's a truck driver. She's a truck driver. So she was always on the road. And the girls would go over there to keep an eye on their 3-year-old daughter. But instead, he had a full-out relationship with the 15-year-old. And then she became pregnant. The person who recorded him, there's recording of him in prison talking and bragging about his niece, how he got rid of her body, how there's going to be a whole community built over her body before anybody, nobody will find her. He talked about how the birds will go and peck at her remains. It's disgusting. So anyway, I'll talk about that because that's also some questions about between, what happened with this case. It's gross. He tries to say that he made up the story, even though the wiretap and everything was played for the court to hear. Um, he denied it, but he was laughing. Like he laughed about her sister talking about. I don't even want to say. Uh, but either way, I'll have to talk about this case separately, and I'll share the text messages and everything that he had between his niece, even telling her that she would die. She couldn't be with anybody else. It's just disgusting the way he lured her in to leave her school early that day, and he took her to his workplace because it's very loud. He works at a junkyard, and that's why he was able to take her out the way he did. Anyway, let's I'll see you guys soon. I'll talk about what else I've been getting into um, before coming on here. But yeah, we'll talk about it. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. And I'll see y'all soon.